Can living in the present moment help us overcome the shadow of purposelessness? Join us for this conversation about Gene Key 28, woven together with the wisdom of the Sabian symbols Scorpio 2 through 7. Welcome to the Free to Be Free portal. I'm Julia Ananda, your host, and I'm with Mystic and Gene Key's guide, Margaret Miller. Margaret, it's so wonderful to be here with you.
Hi, Julia. It's always wonderful to be here with you. I'm excited to talk about this Gene Key 28, with its Shadow of Purposelessness, the Gift of Totality, and the Siddhi of Immortality. And the reason I'm really excited about it is because I think it's one of the really, really powerful keys that helps us to really learn how to trust in the universe and to live fully in the present moment. And so to start, I want to look at the shadow of purposelessness and really that feeling. I mean, the word itself, it's sort of hard to say sometimes, and but it's harder to even look at because I think most people in their lives at some point have had this shadow show up. And it's sort of that feeling of, what the heck am I doing here? And what is my life about? And, as you probably are well aware, the question of purpose is a main question of most spiritual seekers at some point, right? That's like, what am I here for? What is the purpose of my life, And the shadow of purposelessness is this really probably the strongest um, manifestation of our fear of death. Sometimes we may try to avoid that fear of death or to, you know, ignore death by living very cautiously or by uh, you know, not expressing ourselves fully, by really making ourselves small in hopes that we don't do anything that sort of upsets that apple cart, right? Or on the sort of the other extreme of that, we might become extremists and risk takers to the point where we actually do die, or, or cause ourselves a great deal of drama and trauma, uh, trying to live fully, but without any kind of recognition of the fear, without embracing that fear. And this fear of death also can be sort of a fear of living, right? We can be almost as afraid of living as we are of dying. And so that same sort of expression would come about where we're afraid to take those chances, or on the other hand, we're afraid not to take those big chances because we might be missing out, right? And so those are two of these manifestations of this shadow. But also then there's a fear of dying and the fear of living. And then there is, as Richard Rudd in his description of this gene key says beautifully, there's a fear of not living, right? And so what if I miss it? What if I spend my life doing something that has nothing to do with my purpose? What if I really didn't live my life? What if I allowed myself to live so small that I missed it completely? Right. So this is, this is a really powerful shadow, and I think it's touched most everybody at some point in their life. And like all of the shadows and all of our fears, if we avoid them, if we continue to try to avoid them or pretend that they don't exist, we will always, have a reckoning with them. And so the the key to moving into the gift frequency is always to embrace the fear, to embrace the shadow, to be able to say, yes, I do have this fear of death, and but I'm not going to let it stop me from living. And I think that, as we were talking about this before, Julia, this sometimes we don't get shown what that fear really is until someone close to us dies. And when that happens, oftentimes it will certainly, it can certainly bring up that fear of our own mortality, like facing our own mortality, but it also causes us to look at it squarely, to look at it square in the face. And and this isn't the only way that that happens, but it is a really I think in some way it's a beautiful gift that the person who has died gives to the living, is to bring into full relief that physical mortality. And then there can be a a rekindling and a knowing that the only purpose, or the true purpose, of living this life is to live it fully, and to live in love, and to express ourselves, authentically and creatively, and so forth. And this is the gift of totality. That's what it means to be the total sum of, who you came in to be. And you don't even have to know what that is, because life is providing the answers to that in every moment, right? So it is this living in the present moment that allows our purpose to unfold, because we meet each moment, and we're not afraid of as afraid of the unknown, because we recognize that that's part of every single day, right? We don't know when the end of our time is, and that's the way it's set up. That's the way the game works. And so it is sort of like really embracing life as an actor in a play. Like, and that actor in a play is really in an improv, right? Where they are responding to life as it comes. And when we live in that gift of totality, then we embrace and respond as best we can to the difficult times, as well as the easy times, or the joyful times, or the happy times. And we recognize that all of those experiences are coming together to formulate this grand story that is our life. And the purpose might not even reveal itself until the final act of the play, right? Or beyond. And that we can, if the purpose then becomes to live life as fully as possible, we then, I think, really we embrace the fact that joyful living involves being of service somehow, giving our gifts out into the world somehow, whatever it is, whatever is in front of us, giving ourselves fully to what it is that we have been provided with in front of us, and finding ways, to be in love and to be in service. And then, as that, coming back to the idea of death as a great teacher, like, it doesn't have to be somebody dying. It is that, just the awareness that these physical bodies are finite, at least at this point in our evolution, right? Nobody gets out of here alive, basically, that we all leave our physical bodies. And then, but at the same time, there comes this awareness that we are, as a consciousness, as a unified field of consciousness, we are, we exist beyond time and space. And therefore, even though the body dies, the consciousness lives on. And anybody who has had experiences of their loved ones who have passed, visiting them in some way, or just feeling the touch of that spirit, can can testify to that, can you know, and so we know that. And so someone that is living in totality is sort of emanating that perfume of immortality, right? Because they are recognizing that you know, the I am exists beyond time and space. And just that emanation, just that knowingness, you know, allows that siddhi, that Siddhic frequency to descend and to be, and to also to emanate from a person. And so, and at that point, the fear of death is gone. And that in itself would be a rare human being, right? That would be a rare emanation, and that you would know. You would know that you were in the presence of a being who knows their divinity. You know, I think it's a beautiful gene key, and it's such a powerful invitation for us to look at embracing our fear of death, or our fear of living, or our fear of not living, right? And to contemplate what totality looks like, what living fully as the fullness of who we truly are, what that really means. And to me, it's about inviting the higher self, or the angelic self, to be at the holding the reins, right? To really trust in life, and to trust in the universe, that whatever is being provided for us is the correct thing, and that to really attempt to live and to see through the eyes of the higher self, of the divine spark inside of us, and allow life to unfold that way. So I want to look at the Sabian symbols now. I forgot to mention this at the beginning, but we have now moved into Scorpio. So we are in a water sign. And the sign of Scorpio has to do a lot with the unknown, with the hidden, with things beyond the veil, right? So in astrology, Scorpio rules the eighth house. And traditionally, the eighth house was sort of keynoted as sex, death, and taxes. you know, and but it's more than that, of course. But so the Scorpio energy is very passionate. It's a very passionate energy. It's a very sensual energy, and it is a water sign, and so it's deeply emotional, and it's highly, highly sensitive. And and so it has to do with harmonizing different frequencies, and really bringing into our awareness things that are unseen, you know, and embracing that, embracing death, and embracing the unknown. So it's very appropriate that it's, you know, uh, the sign of this particular gene key. So looking at Scorpio 2, uh, the Sabian symbol, from a broken bottle, traces of perfume still emanate. And this is talking about the what persists, right, after death, or what persists after, you know, in our memory, like of our past and so forth, and what the sweetness of life that we tend to, sort of idolize, or what we make, the stories that we make of our past that make it even more beautiful, maybe even than it was, right? Like the memory sort of becomes even sweeter than maybe the actual event. But the, and another part of this is this persistence of our creative essence, right? And utter fidelity to our selfhood through life. And that perfume then emanates through our life. So beautiful, beautiful symbol. So then Scorpio 3 is a happy house raising party. And so this is talking about the exceptional power of uh, community, right? Accomplishment through coming together as community to do something valuable for members of the community. And really, if we think about people who have sort of become immortal in some way, right? Who have been immortalized in our histories, or for the good works that they do, it's because of that incredible drive, and that totality, that being of themselves so fully that everything that they did was a contribution to their community or a contribution to humanity. I'm thinking about people like Gandhi and Mother Teresa, and people who really gave of themselves. And so it's really, but it's also the sharing of experience, right? Because we can't live in totality in isolation forever, right? We can't fully express the gifts that we are here to give unless there's somebody to give those gifts to, right? So I thought that was also a really beautiful symbol to go with this gene key. Scorpio 4, a youth carries a lit candle in a church service. And this is talking about spiritual participation in the world's work, right? And it also, the lit candle is about sustained inspiration and really having a conscious tie or a linkage to the inner self, or the inner world, or the spiritual realm. Okay. And so knowing, and also about ritual, like how ritual helps us to uh, touch these higher frequencies, and to give us, that's why, lighting incense, or using sage, or using any kind of a spiritual tool, it helps us just as a symbol, if nothing else, to say, hey, I'm ready here to tap into the higher levels of myself, and the higher levels of divinity. And so also a beautiful symbol for this gene key. So Sabian symbol Scorpio 5, a massive rocky shore unchanged by centuries of storms. So this is talking about stability, right? Things that can be unchanged for centuries, right? And we want stability in our lives, but we kind of are living with the fact that our lives are ever changing. Like, we aren't the unchanging elements. And even that massive rocky shore gets worn away over long, long periods of time. And so it's really about, how do we find stability in this ever-changing world? And basically, this is the idea of having a poised spirit, and a firmness of knowing of ourselves and living our lives in that totality so that we are ultimately prepared for whatever happens. Like that living in trust of what may or may not come is really the way that we find stability, because we then are living in the present moment where 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 our life really resides, and where there is this, that's the unchanging, that's the only unchanging moment, is the present moment. Which is sort of a dichotomy, because you could say that it's the ever-changing present moment as well. Anyway, so I like that one. And yeah, and I just looking at the commentary from I think this was from Dane Rudyard. He says, a poised spirit and a firmness of personality which enable every individual to prepare himself and his fellows for any possible contingency, right? And that's how it's done. It's like by living in the present moment and by receiving whatever happens as the appropriate thing. Like, and I kind of go a little bit farther with that and say that means then that our purpose is being fulfilled by living in the present moment and receiving whatever comes to us, that we don't have to go out searching for that is really us stepping forward, taking one step in front of the other throughout our lives. So then Scorpio 6 is the gold rush, okay? The California hills, the gold rush. And this is, in the Sabian symbols, is the passionate quest for universal values, okay? And it's sort of which is sort of destructive of our cultural ease, like looking for the things that are the most valuable kind of brings us outside of our comfort zone. Now, if we are in the shadow frequency, this will show up as greed, like we have to get more and more and more to somehow try and be safe or try and be secure or have that kind of stability. But when we bring it up into the higher frequencies, that gold is something else, right? That's not this material, it's not a seeking after material wealth. It is the self-dedication to the unseen potentials of our own lives, like seeking that gold and those gems from within ourselves. So then the final Sabian symbol here is Scorpio 7. Divers of the deep sea are being lowered into the waters. So going into the unknown, going into the depths of our consciousness or our unconscious or our subconscious, finding what is there, finding the shadows, finding, and really exploring the depths of the unknown and allowing ourselves to be taught by the vastness of that deep ocean of consciousness. So I think this is really also, it's a great one to end on, right? Because it is about, really purposefully plunging into the depths of life's mysteries and not being afraid of what we might find there. And so, you know, just really my encouragement, I guess, then to everyone is if you are having a sense of purposelessness, to really be gentle with yourself and allow yourself to acknowledge and to be curious about what it is that you're afraid of, what it is that you're afraid of life bringing you or not bringing you, or what you're afraid of doing or not doing, or and and if you can, just gently come into your heart and know that just by virtue of being here, your life is of great value, and and that just your living here on this earth at this beautiful time may be enough, and and allow that heart to open to yourself a little bit.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I like to think of in each longing that I have throughout the day, little tiny desires, just allowing them to flower. Do I want to go outside and have a big breath of fresh air? Do I want to call a friend? Each of those beautiful desires to just act on them or let yourself feel them in the present moment versus always projecting towards some future date. Just really be be vibrant, be whole in each present moment. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's beautiful. My favorite reminder, the thing that I remind myself of, and I think I've said it on here a number of times, is to reaffirm that I trust life, that I trust my life to unfold beautifully, and I trust that it is unfolding beautifully, and that I don't know the whole script. Like, I don't know that, and I'm not supposed to know that. I am responding to life as it is responding to me. And that's enough. And that beautiful things will happen and challenging things will happen, difficult things and easy things. That all of those things will happen, and that makes up the richness of life. Yeah.
Ooh, I love that. Yeah, and I love the concept that you talked about to have a poised spirit in receiving everything that's coming towards you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Margaret, for bringing this through for us. It's very, very valuable for us. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Yeah.
And to our audience, please let us know how this landed for you. Please let us know in the comments and like and subscribe. And we'll see you in the next video. Thank you.
Thank you.